finds the area.
Oh, yep.
That's how when
Yep.
I broke my electric grid, and my house. This morning, I first saw them buy my things.
Yeah, she'll be excited.
You get Chicago one, it's cold also. We went to like well, New York now, so fire they take pictures of it, they send you the, oh, they send you bill. Tell you right now. We'll mail it to you. And then it also it tells you, you better pay it. Because if you fail to pay it, they will pull the registration.
Well, a number of years ago, Susan stayed with her mother, the doctors, see her house. And her mother was always late, has a hard time getting around. Anyway, she was running the line. So she's going down to town. And she ran through those red lights. It was yellow. She started, I was very excited.
Yeah.
Something did late.
Yeah, there's one thing.
What the heck is this? That's okay. It's a license.
We went to Colorado once. Wife had flew out with a granddaughter. We had just walked away. We go to the airport and get her. Boy was driving the van. And we left and he says, well, this is going down on the toll road here. Okay. First, I said, how far is the toll road? He goes, we got off the road a long time ago. I said, how come I didn't pay? He says, they'll send me a bill. He said, they take a picture of your license. They'll send me a bill. I said, so they're going to send Dan Deere a bill for the license. He goes, what do you mean? He says, my license plate just says Dan Deere. It's got a paper sticker. We never got a bill.
Oh, you did?
Nope, never did. Got to ask Dan Deere if they did.
There's no big deal. Like, it's a rental car.
On the business I've been up there, they will.
Yeah. They could afford it. Yeah. He says, you don't have a plate. Just says Dan Deere. Your little cardboard for the license. We ended up going out there. The place we had today was. And like I say, none of it was.
Yeah, she said she was gonna look forward to it.
New York's not too bad.
Just scoot it over to the post.
Or going in like in the jar.
Where about so I can't fly across. I'm back. Nope. Made far enough.
Did you see it? He sent him back.
Yeah, they didn't want to keep it. Darn it. It's kind of nice.
Yes, I hear you. I'm gonna be blinded by that. Probably go a little to the left. The chair could probably go. Yes, that's what it was. I remember. Yeah, I think it was a
I don't have anything scheduled. I don't have anything.
Let me go look. Since I've been in here, I've been checking my email.
I haven't got anything.
Finally.
Hey,
After a
Laura,
lot of days.
I haven't got anything emailed. They normally send me an email.
I got ran over by a train. Oh gosh, that was awful. I know. And I just got it like instantly. I'm sure it's got word out. Yeah, a lot of it is. Whatever.
Thanks.
No.
I've got some spray in my
No, she left because she left early. And then I got sick. So, her cat, she had to.
Well, it's 9 o'clock.
Good morning. Good morning, Dan, Bill, Larry. Good morning. I'm Janet Wilson, and I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Tama County Against Turbines Coalition. It's a shame that none of you could make it to the public meeting and forum on July 27th right here in Toledo. We attracted a large, highly engaged crowd from across Tama County. You missed an outstanding presentation by the chairman of the Worth County Planning and Zoning Commission. Jeff Gorbel explained the process Worth County citizens underwent to better protect public health and safety and their highly productive farmland by updating their their county zoning and commercial wind ordinance. I'm going to highlight some of the key steps they took. They recognized that wind energy companies would likely threaten lawsuits if the county strengthened their zoning wind ordinances. Yet Worth County residents and public officials did not allow themselves to be bullied by wind interests. You should not allow wind developers, investors, or landowners with easements to bully you or our coalition either. Worth County expected wind interests to attempt to threaten them with litigation, but they did not back down. They focused on their goals to update wind regulations and zoning to better protect all of the people and prime agricultural land of Worth County. While they researched needs, Worth County Zoning Commission recommended the supervisors enact a moratorium to pause approval of any new industrial wind projects. The supervisors agreed and enacted a moratorium. We need you to take a vote to enact a moratorium on commercial wind projects to allow citizens time to research and propose comprehensive wind ordinance updates. Worth County citizens reviewed 38 county ordinances as part of their research, with Tama County being one of them. Worth County scored wind ordinances on a total of 32 attributes they evaluated. So how did Tama County's commercial wind ordinance fare in this comprehensive assessment? Not well at all. In fact, Tama County's ordinance got a failing grade. Tama County's commercial wind energy ordinance was described as out of date and weak. In fact, Tama County's minimal, outdated ordinances contains only 13 of the 32 factors Worth County deemed essential attributes of a modern wind energy ordinance. But you three approved Tama County's commercial wind ordinance on May 16th. In doing so, you disregarded the public input of hundreds of taxpayers calling for a moratorium and comprehensive wind ordinance changes. Larry, by your own admission, our coalition's work represents the greatest public input you've received on any issue in your 27-year tenure. Despite your numerous attempts to take away our voice, you cannot silence our coalition. This issue is far too important for current and future generations. Worth County's wind ordinance, approved in June of this year, includes a public complaint resolution process and requires wind project operators to comply with the county's permits and ordinances. Those who fail to do so face steep fines. Worth County can revoke the permits for wind projects that fail to comply with county regulations. That includes requiring non-compliant turbines to be shut down. If turbines are shut down for a year, the turbine must be decommissioned and removed from the land. Worth County requires the turbine infrastructure, like concrete, electrical cable, and rerot in the soil, to be removed to down to 6 feet to prevent interference with plant roots, especially under drought conditions, rather than only 4 feet as our wind ordinance requires. Worth County's wind ordinance requires wind projects to comply with Iowa Department of Natural Resources recommendations for wildlife protection, or to explain why not and what project developers or operators propose as mitigation for the plan. For example, the Iowa DNR recommends a 5-mile buffer zone to keep wind turbines away from active bald eagles. Worth County's ordinance also addresses risk associated with wind turbines, like shadow flicker, infrasound, and ice throws. Worth County now requires wind turbines to be equipped with anti-icing and ice detection systems. If ice is detected on wind turbine blades, turbines are to be shut down until no ice is present to protect public safety. Tama County's outdated ordinance contains none of those protections. That's another reason it's time for comprehensive changes to Tama County's commercial wind ordinance. Allowing more industrial wind turbines to be built in Tama County under the minimal outdated ordinance that was reapproved on May 16th will not help attract more people to live in Tama County's small towns and rural areas. In fact, it can have the opposite effect. If the current wind ordinance does not adequately protect people and property rights, especially for the overwhelming majority of Tama County landowners who choose not to sign wind project easements, we can learn from Worth County, where people are moving out and not moving in, with rural homes in proximity to industrial wind turbines decreasing in property value. A great deal in wind turbine technology has changed since 2010, when Tama County's wind ordinance was separated out of the master zoning ordinance. It's time for Tama County to comprehensively update and change its commercial wind ordinances and regulations to better protect the people who live here and our highly productive farmland. Our coalition stands ready, willing, and committed to working with you and the citizen members of the Zoning Commission to research and update Tama County's commercial wind ordinance and permitting and enforcement processes to better protect the land and all the people, livestock, and wildlife living here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I go? Can I make a public comment?
Are you not finished yet, Richard, or you?
I think we're finished.
Janet was a spokesperson.
I was
for-
the
She was the
spokesperson. There may be some individuals speaking on their own. I was the
Yeah.
spokesperson.
If the gentleman wants to go, if you just state your name and.
In 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, my name's Adam Todd, I'm 39, I farm south of town. I'm in Dan's district, and several people have asked me my opinion on it. And you're probably not gonna like what I say, so I'll just go ahead and preface that. But I see people that I care for, my friends out here, so I hate to disappoint you if you don't like what I say, but I'll give my position. And my position is that, you guys got no business telling people what they can do with their land. So I'm happy you're not making laws on what people can and can't do with their land. I don't think you guys are involved in it. So my position is that people shouldn't be asking you to pick a winner and a loser in this situation. That is a civil deal between landowners and Conifer. And I don't want you guys making any more laws to tell me what I can and can't do with my land. I think, what if it was tile? What if there was a group here saying that they didn't want people tiling their ground, and they come and ask you to make a rule that I can't tile my ground out? I'd be hitting the ceiling. And there's a lot of people out here, even Republicans, that the mantra is, government can't pick winners and losers. And it's not your job to pick winners and losers and legislate Conifer out of this county. And I would maintain that. This is, of course, it's not in my area. That's the first thing you'll say. It's not in your back door. I tell you, if somebody, I don't care who it was, my best friend signed an easement to put up a turbine, I'd have a lawsuit on them faster than you could say, I love turbines. But I hate turbines. I don't want turbines. Keep them out of the county. But it is not these guys' jobs to make more laws and then send Dennis out to arrest somebody for putting a turbine up on their own ground. This is America. We have private property rights. They get to do with what they want on private property. But if I was you guys, I'd have civil suits. I know they're your friends. I know they're your neighbors. They're even your family. And it's hard. It's way easier to come up here, and these guys are the bad guys now. And it's almost emotional. It's almost personal now. It's almost Tama County against the Board of Supervisors now. Actually, technically, it is, instead of Tama County against turbines. And I can't get on board against saying that I want you guys, I will not say I want you guys to make more laws. Your guys' job to build bridges, maintain roads, and pay bills. Don't you dare tell me what I can do with my land and can't. But if I do something and you don't like it, or my neighbors don't like it, you guys don't like it, sue me. And you guys ought to have you ought to have a suit against every person you know is an easement signer. You ought to have a suit against Conifer to disclose where they intend on putting turbines. And you ought to say turbines are a nuisance. We have a right to sue them before they get built. And it's not government's job to pick the winners or losers. That's my position. I will never ask you guys to make more laws let alone more laws telling me what I can do on my private ground. I cannot ask you to go up there and inhibit people. And the other thing is there's subtle hints of these guys selling out. And I think it's emotion showing. And I think that's absurd to suggest these guys are taking money under the table. And it's inappropriate. But you know who did take money and who did sell out? It was your neighbors. It was your family. It was your friends. And you don't want to sue those people. I don't understand. You don't want to be a private citizen suing a private citizen. It maintains it makes hard feelings amongst your neighbors. And it's easier to sue these guys. It's easier to sue. It's easier to say Dr. Berm's the bad guy. You know, he's not even the bad guy. And it's personal. Trying to make him the bad guy. He didn't make your neighbors sign. They sold you out. Not these guys. I mean, the problem might have been Dr. Berm had some dollar signs in his eyes, but he's not even the bad guy. Bad guys are the guys who signed away their land to let Conifer in the door. And I hate that it's that way. But bad guys, I mean, you spend a lot of time and effort up here. If they dare, and I have butted heads with them. I came up here and threw one big hissy fit temper tantrum and they didn't bid out that radio system. They should have bid that out. So I'm not a yes man. But it's not their jobs to make a law. Tell me that I can't build a turbine. If I build a turbine, I hope you would sue the crap out of me. That's the way it is. This is a civil issue. You cannot make this a criminal issue. So if y'all wanted to make some civil suits, I could throw some support that way. Even though I know who signed, and they would be hard to make it a personal and take it to court. But you know what? You start suing those easement holders and easement signers, and it gives them a little bit more of a reason to get out of it. Right now, they're just kind of tucking down, hunkering down. They probably were ashamed that they signed so early. They sold out with dollar signs in their eyes. But right now, there's not enough pressure on them to want to get out of that easement. You put a suit on them and let them have some desire to get out of it. Help easement signers get out of it. You could be an aid to the easement signers on getting out of it. But they're the ones that literally sold out. They took money. They gave Conifer. I hope Conifer leaves and never comes back. I'd be in Mid-American Energy. I'd buy stock just so I could go to Mid-American's stockholder meeting and complain about it. They're the ones that stand to gain. And but our neighbors, and I say ours, but it doesn't affect me. I know. And this will be the last time you see me. It's not in my back door. But they be the one. They didn't sell out. Your neighbors did. That's a hard thing to hear. But that's the truth. And your neighbors need to suffer the repercussions. So you start asking these guys to legislate stuff, and you're asking them to prevent something. It's one small step for them to mandate something. Eminent domain. I mean, I'd hit the ceiling if it's eminent domain. And the other question is what if they gave you your ordinance, and then Mid-American and Conifer managed to find a way to comply by the ordinance that you guys want? Then are you going to throw your weight behind it and just say, okay, we can't complain? No, it's going to be a never-ending battle. You ought to fight to keep the wind turbines out, period. What if they mandated that if they passed your ordinance and your ground met the requirement for the ordinance, that you had to put up a wind turbine? It ain't their job to make you put up a wind turbine. So they're out of it.
You're gonna wrap it up, please.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have comments?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my name's Heather Knibble. I know we've discussed the mud pads, and I'm definitely concerned, disappointed. I know what the gentleman is saying, but we have an ordinance, we approve permits, right? The county approves conditional use permits. They're not being enforced. So that is an area where we need your guys' help. If you're gonna have permits, the county needs to make sure they're compliant and they're up to code. I mean, it's no different than any other government position, right? So that's my biggest complaint. I know we're just talking about mud pads right now, which there's still a risk. Later, we're gonna be talking about 60 turbines, right? These things have to comply. So is that Todd? Or who? Is that you guys? I wanna know if this is happening. Yes, landowners have already signed. Who can enforce these? So I wanna read you just real quick from,
No comment. Sorry.
so I'm gonna read you from the limited scope permit that was approved by the county in 2020. So a gravity drain will be installed in the base of each excavation to keep the excavations dewatered. So this is in regards to the picture that I gave each of you a copy of a couple weeks ago. So they will be dewatered. The drains will be daylighted if grades allow or tied into available existing field drain tile systems. The stockpiles will be hydro-seeded and a 6-foot temporary safety fence will be installed around the perimeter. So that is what the permit says and was approved by Todd. The penalty in our ordinances on page 80 in section 2201, any person, firm, or corporation who violates, disobeys, omits, neglects, or refuses to comply with, or who resists the enforcement of any of the provisions of the ordinance shall, upon conviction, be fined not more than $500 for the violation, or not more than $750 for the violation if the infraction is a repeat offense, and each day that a violation is permitted to exist shall constitute a separate offense. So we have these ordinances. The conditional use permit is a provision of the ordinance. These gotta be followed, guys. I understand the landowner signed, you know, you guys are the supervisors here, but it was approved by the county. We need these to be enforced for the public safety of everybody, the landowners that did sign and the people that did not. So I'm gonna give you guys each a copy of what I just read. I wanna make sure you each have one while I do this. Anybody else can go ahead and speak, that's all I had.
Got a couple more minutes, folks, before Conifer wants to speak at 9:20.
I got a couple comments after the gentleman who just spoke here. Our goal is not to stop conifer. Our goal is to update the ordinances to protect everybody's property rights, whether you want a turbine or whether you don't. We're not against a legal company doing business. We are here to protect people's property rights so that if I don't want a turbine, nobody can place the turbine in a position that puts me in a danger zone on my own property. That's my main goal, sitting here, and I hope you're listening. So, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Anybody
Dan,
else?
we could not hear what you said back here a minute ago. What did you say? Dan? Mr. Anderson?
What's that?
What was the comment you made just a couple minutes ago before this fellow spoke?
The comment I made,
Yeah, just,
I didn't make any comments.
you said, I
He
thought
said, he said you got a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that, yeah, I just said we got a
He said
couple
you got a
more
couple
minutes.
more minutes.
Then the gentleman from Conifer is gonna speak at 9:20.
Okay, we couldn't hear you back
Oh,
there.
okay, I'm sorry.
And then do we have open time again after these?
No, no.
Isn't it 5 minutes per
The public
group though?
comment time
But
is
he
from
can only
9 to
speak for 5
9:30.
minutes though. But he can only speak for 5 minutes, correct?
He's, I think we're gonna let him speak for 10 minutes, because he's not here every week.
He is here every week.
Yes,
He is, he said he is.
He's
Here every week.
But he don't speak every week. He doesn't speak every week.
Pardon, what did you say? What did you say, Larry?
They just
It's
can't
in
hear
town
you.
this year. He doesn't
I can't
speak.
hear you, speak
Dan.
up.
He doesn't
You
speak
were
every
nice
week.
enough to
My
let
comment about
us
the
speak for 7 to 8
I still
minutes, so we
can't
would
hear you. I'm
understand
sorry.
if you
Speak
let.
up.
I am
One more
too.
time.
Speak.
Okay, somebody want to relay the message?
When are we gonna get
When are you gonna get
microphones?
microphones?
Larry said, that this gentleman is here every week, but doesn't speak every week.
Correct.
I think that's per
Well,
meeting.
not, all of us don't speak every week.
You guys just created a new rule of 5 minutes.
You all go over 5 minutes.
We all pretty much let everybody talk as long as
Right.
they want.
Did you hear what I said? Dan was nice enough to let us speak, I think 7 to 8 minutes. We should have no problem with anybody else speaking that long either.
I would appreciate that. So, all right, thank you. Tom, you wanna speak?
I do, thank you.
7 minutes?
Yeah, good morning. I'll try and keep it as short as possible. Thank you for the time today. So, my name is Tom Sporcheski with Conifer Power, talking about Salt Creek. Two quick things. We finally have copies of our economic impact analysis printed from our economist, Dr. David Loomis, who's a PhD professor from Illinois State University. I only brought the one copy for myself. We have plenty of copies though at our project office. If you guys are interested in getting a copy, go ahead and stop over. We'd be happy to share those with you. I do want to just touch on a couple of highlights. Dr. Loomis found in his report that Salt Creek Phase 1, that is just the first 170 megawatt project, is going to create, estimated to create 486 new jobs during construction just for Tama County. Will generate $24 million in new earnings during construction just for Tama County. Will contribute over $50 million, about $50.5 million in total new taxes to the county in the first 30 years of the project's life. Approximately half of that would go to the school districts. And then more generally, the state of Iowa, just touching on the fact that, you know, wind energy's been a part of life here. It's nothing new. As of May 2022, so just 2 months ago, Iowa still ranks second in the